Hello class. Today we're looking at substitution and solving equations. This is day 2. So if you weren't here for day 1, please watch the video. So today our essential question is, how do I solve systems of equations by substitution? Your learning intention. I'm learning to substitute quantities into an equation and solve the equation. So pause the video and do the warm-up questions. You're supposed to graph these 3 equations. What does it look like, and how do I graph? So pause the video and see if you can graph. I hope you did try. So as we're looking at the first one, remember we begin at the end with our b value. We begin on the y-axis. So I'm looking at -5. Here's 0, 0, negative goes down, so this would be -5 right here. How do I move? It's 1/3, which means I go up 1 and right 3. So from here, I start at the point I've identified. I go up 1, go right 1, 2, 3. Let me make it in a different color. Go up 1, go right 1, 2, 3. I now have 2 points, and I can draw my line. There's my first graph. Okay, so now let's think about the next 2. Y is equal to -5. Is it going to be vertical or is it going to be horizontal? That's your question. So I'm going to look at 2 points. All I know about any of the points is that my y value must be -5. I can pick any x value. 2, -5 will work. I could pick a negative x value. -4, -5 will work. Where are these points located? Here's 2, here's -5, there's 1. Here's -4, here's -5, here's the second point, and I can now graph it. Okay, y is equal to -5. Okay, if y is equal to -5 is that horizontal, we know x is equal to 6 must be the opposite, which would be vertical. What do I know about every point? It doesn't matter what y is, but x is 6. So the points like 6, 5 would work. 6, -3 will work. So I go over 6, I go up 5, that's one of the points. Go over 6, I go down 3, that's another point. I can now graph. And I'm done. Okay, so when you're graphing, remember, identify 2 points. If you're in the slope-intercept form, you'll start with the point on the end, which is on your y-axis, and then you move to find your second point. If it is a horizontal or vertical line, you just identify 2 points at work and draw your line. Okay, so now we're going to solve the following equations given these amounts. X is equal to -2, y is equal to 5, a is equal to 3, and b is equal to 4. It's important to remember 3x means 3 times whatever x is. 2y means 2 times whatever y is. This is multiplication. Okay, so x is -2. So I bring the 3 down. In parentheses, I'm going to put -2 so I know I'm multiplying. Do not put an x because x has become our variable and you will confuse yourself. Plus 2y is 5 is equal to. Okay, I've substituted. Order of operations says I multiply before I add. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Plus 2 times 5 is 10. Negative 6 plus 10, they're opposites, so I subtract. 10 minus 6 is 4. Keep the sign of the bigger number, which is 10. If you got opposite signs, you subtract. Okay, let's look at the next one. 2a. A is negative 3. 2 times negative 3 minus 3. B is 4. 3 times 4 equals. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Minus 3 times 4 is 12. They're both negative, so I'll add them together. 6 plus 12 is 18. Keep the negative sign. So that is negative 18. Okay, if you have questions, pause the video and back it up and watch it again. Okay, this time we're looking at two equations. This equation only has one term though. So we know that y is equal to 3x plus 2, but we also know that y is equal to 11. Since both of these are equal to y in this problem, they will be equal to each other. So 11 is equal to 3x plus 2. All I did was substitute in. Now it's time to start solving. 3 times x plus 2. The last thing I did was to add 2, so I'll subtract 2 from both sides. This is eliminated. 2 minus 2 is 0. 11 minus 2 is 9, is equal to 3x. Okay, 3 times x. How do I undo that? I divide. Divide both sides by your coefficient of x by that 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 3 will be equal to x. You can substitute back in and make sure that both values work. Okay, for the next one, it's quite involved because we've got fractions, we've got all kinds of things going on, but I wanted you to learn how to deal with fractions. This is kind of a reminder. We know that y is equal to 6x minus 11, and y is equal to negative 2/3 x minus 3. So now, they're equal to each other. So I can find x by setting them up equal to each other. When I get ready, I know that negative 2/3 x is smaller, so I'm going to add 2/3 x to both sides. But here's the problem. This is in thirds, this is not. I've got to have that common denominator to be able to add. So I ask myself, 6 is equal to what number divided by 3? 6 is equal to what number divided by 3? Well, that would be 18. So I know that this is 18 over 3. 18 over 3 plus 2 over 3 is 20 over 3x minus 11 is equal to negative 3. Okay, now I'm ready to start solving. I will add 11 to both sides. 11 minus 11, negative 11 plus 11 is 0. 20 over 3x is equal to 8. Now for those of you that are really good, you can multiply by the reciprocal. You can multiply both sides by 3 over 20. For those of you that are still struggling with that idea, here's that extra step that we will do. We will multiply by 3. That eliminates the 3 on this side. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 20x is equal to 24. 20x is equal to 24. Now, I've got to divide by 20. So I know that x is equal to 24 over 20. But I can simplify. Now I have to simplify. Okay, 24 and 20 have a common factor of 4, so I can divide top and bottom by 4. 24 divided by 4 is 6. 20 divided by 4 is 5. I've simplified and I am done. If you have a calculator, you can put it in your calculator and I'll show you how to do that. I want 24 divided by 20. There's my fraction before it's simplified. I go to my math button. I want it into a simplified fraction, so I just hit enter and enter again, and it also gives me 6 over 5. For those of you that struggle when you get ready to take the ACT test, you can do your simplified fractions with this math button. Okay, so on the last one, this time they are not equal to, both of them equal to y. One's in standard form, this is standard form, and this is y-intercept form. So as I'm looking, I do know that I've got y here and I've got y here. I can still substitute in and solve for x. So start with negative 3x. That doesn't change. Minus 2. Now, in parentheses, 5x minus 7. I'm done here. Equals negative 12. Okay, take a minute. I'm going to pause. I want you to look and think about what it looks like, how we substitute it in with parentheses, because we're putting an expression in for y. Now, I'm going to multiply everything by negative 2, so I can get rid of my negative sign there. Negative 3x doesn't change. Negative 2 times 5x is negative 10x. Negative 2 times negative 7 is positive 14. Negative times negative is a positive. And that's still equal to negative 12. Negative 3x minus 10x is negative 13x. They're both negatives, add them together, keep that sign. Plus 14 equals negative 12. Now it's time to solve. Two-step equation. Step 1, move the 14 to the other side. 14 minus 14 is 0. I've eliminated it. Negative 13x is equal to negative 12 plus negative 14 Both of them are negative. Add them together. 12 and 14 is 26. Keep the sign, which is negative. Last step, divide by your coefficient of x, that negative 13. And x is equal to positive 2. Okay, as we get further into substitution, we will find x and then we will find y, or vice versa. But for today, I know I am successful when I can substitute into and solve equations. Substitution. We're heading towards solving systems by using substitution. Systems are two lines. So think about how two lines will intersect.